Hello everyone. So for this video we're going to do the third exercise on the second homework assignment. This is the one where you are to input an integer, for example 1000, and then the program calculates pi for you, which would be something like this, 3.144. And so the program is basically designed that you enter 1000 and there'll be a bunch of things that are then added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided by, and it'll calculate pi to be 3.144, something around that area, maybe 3.04, 3.24, something like that. So let's get started. We'll do first things first, as always, our user input. So we do user input equals the, obviously for pi we're going to do float. Let me see. Do I want to do float? No, not really. Okay, for the input we won't do float. Raw input, enter an integer. And what this input is actually the number of tries that is going to be attempted to calculate 3.144. What happens is that there'll be x's and y's randomly made up. That's actually what we're supposed to do first, is import the module random. So from here is where we're going to draw our random numbers, and the amount of random numbers we draw is determined by the tries that the user inputs. So whatever number that may be, for this one I input 1000, so it's gonna draw 1000 random numbers and then calculate them, and then see how close to pi it'll get. So we have this, and then we gotta do our hits and misses that I'll explain later. So I'll do hits equals 0.0. I want these to be a float, and misses equals 0.0. So the tries don't have to be a float because it's just going to be a integer purely. Well, it can be a float, but it doesn't matter because one of these is going to be a float anyway. And the hits and the misses is going to be floats because they're going to be dividing and subtracting and all sorts of things. So we have this, and now we're going to do our first loop, which will be our while loop. So let's see, while hits plus misses we'll do less than the amount of tries. Then we do our first random function. So we'll do r. I'll do r_1 equals random dot random. So from the random module we'll draw the random function, and then we'll do another one, r_2 equals random dot random, because we need two separate random numbers for x and y, which will be our x and y coordinates. And then we'll have our first x will equal -1 times, or not times, plus 2 times the first random. Now this equation I drew from the assignment that they gave us, and also I drew the import and I drew the function as well from the assignment. So I'm not just drawing this from learning from somewhere else. It's on the homework assignment. I remembered. And we'll do the same thing for y. So y will equal -1 plus 2 times the second random, because we want two different random numbers. If we get the same one, x and y will be the same thing, and we don't want that. And so we have our first random number and our second random number, and then from that we'll find our first x value and our first y value. Now the idea behind this is that you're hitting a a circle with the radius of 1 that's inside of a square. And so with that, we're aiming for values less than or equal to 1. But also greater than -1, because it'll cover both sides. 1 and then -1, same thing, 1, -1 for y. So let's do our first if statement. So if, I'll put this in quotations because we're going to do some math. -1 is less than or equal to, and the equation he gave us was, I believe, x squared plus y squared. Yes, I'm looking at a separate sheet here that has assignment. Okay, so x squared plus y squared, and I want to put these inside of a parentheses as well. I don't know, I think I called them quotations earlier. I meant parentheses. And we'll add this up. So if this added up, I don't know how many parentheses I've put there, and if this is less than or equal to 1, then we increase the amount of hits by one, I guess. We increase the amount of hits by 1, and then if it doesn't equal this, then we increase the amount of misses by 1, and then that's it. That should be it. We have x squared plus y squared. If that is less than or equal to 1 and greater than or equal to -1, then it's considered a hit. If it's not that, then it's considered a miss. And these will essentially add up to be the number of tries. So let's say if you get 10 tries, it should be like 5 hits, 5 misses, 7 hits, 3 misses. And then at the end of this, then we'll print pi. Oh no, I'm sorry. Now we gotta calculate pi. So the equation that was given to us was pi equals 4 times hits divided by tries. So we'll do that, hits divided by tries. And that's gonna be our pi formula. And it's on the assignment as well. So it's 4 times hits divided by tries. And then from there we'll get pi is calculated to be, and then that should be pi. So let's run this, see if it works. So enter an integer. I entered 1000 earlier, so this seems to be right. Let's see, hits 778 and misses 222. That should add up to be 1000. And so then we have pi, which is 3.112, which is what we got here. Now the idea is to get close to 3.14. It's not exactly to, be over or under. There's no issue with that. It's just to be, really, really close to it. So the bigger the number is, the closer it'll be to 3.14. So if we do something like 5, you might get like 5 hits, 5 misses. So here we have 4, and that's because we have 5 hits and 0 misses. And it could work the other way around when you have 0 hits and all misses and stuff like that. So this is our program. We import the random module, and then we ask the user to input an integer, which will give us the amount of tries, and then we have our hits and misses variables that equals 0, and then we have a while loop, which while our hits and misses is less than the amount of tries, we draw our first random functions from the module random, and then we get our x and y values. So like here, our x equals that, and then our y equals that. So, and then if you square these and add them up, they'll probably, be less than or equal to 1. And so let's say this is true, then our hits goes up by 1 because it's considered a hit. If it's false, then our misses goes up by 1 because it's considered a miss. And then once that is done, we calculate pi, which is 4 times hits divided by tries, and then we'll print our final statement. And let me just run it one more time. And 3.192. So we have our hits, which is 798. Our misses our x and our y, and so this is basically, and then our tries equals 1000. So this is the program to do the third exercise on the second homework assignment. Thanks.